I'm back again with a PauperEDH deck tech. This is a very fun mono black Voltron deck. You can make it for less than 20 bucks. Link is in the description to the deck list, obviously. And we're looking at Yargle, Glutton of Urborg. I paid maybe 1 cent for this card, found it in a bargain bin and went, holy crap, it's a 5 mana 9/3 with nothing in its text box but flavor. It's a vanilla 9/3. And obviously, since it's Voltron, the game plan is going to be slap a bunch of stuff on him and kill with him, with combat damage, usually. I mean, need I say more? It's Tainted Strike. On a 9/3, Tainted Strike is a win. If you have any kind of ramp, you're putting out Yargle on turn 4, and swinging on turn 5, you can cast Tainted Strike. That brings his power to 10 and gives him Infect, which kills someone. It's a little rude, but I mean, come on. Am I gonna like not put it in the deck? Essence Harvest, another win con here. Target player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. If you've slapped a bunch of auras and equipment on Yargle and he's massive, this could be a win. You could swing for damage and then finish him off with this in the post-combat main phase. Similarly, Rite of Consumption, it's objectively worse. It does cost 1 less, but you have to sacrifice the creature in order to get that win. So this is the Hail Mary, where your opponent's at, 10, 11 life, and you want to swing at one opponent and then throw Rite of Consumption out there to essentially fling Yargle at the final guy. And now we have a bunch of equipment. Let's go through. Haunted Cloak is pretty gross. Giving Yargle Vigilance is a big deal. You want to keep him around as a blocker, especially later on when we start talking about ways to give him lifelink. If you're keeping him as a blocker, then you're going to have like 18-point swings in health every time he makes contact with people. And there's several flying enablers. We've got Fleet Feather Sandals, flying in haste for 2 mana, Bladed Pinions, flying in First Strike for 2 mana, Cliff Haven Kite Sail, 1 mana, and it automatically attaches when it comes out. Pretty cool. Just flying, no other keywords. Cloak of the Bat, flying in haste, 2 mana, and Skyblender's Staff to combo with everything. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked by creatures with flying. Just absolutely rude. Cathar's Shield is a 0 mana equipment, very much the same card as a Quarter's Shield. Both of these in there giving him 0/3 and Vigilance. Since his power is 9 and his toughness is 3, we're definitely looking for that toughness buff. We like that. And the Vigilance, obviously, as I just said, is quite good. Whisper Silk Cloak. You may notice on these, the printing in the deck is uncommon, but as long as the card has a common printing, it's still PauperEDH legal. Equipped creature is unblockable and has Shroud. Obviously, that prevents us from adding any more equipment or auras, but if you've got this on him, it might just be GG for everybody else. Vorak Battlehorns is a fun one. Equipped creature has Trample and can't be blocked by more than 1 creature. If you give him Menace, that's unblockable. And Brass Knuckles, it comes out, creates a copy of itself in case you care about that. It gives Double Strike on a 9/3. I don't know what else you want from me. Spoilers. Cranial Plating is pretty fun. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. And pretty similarly, Golem Skin Gauntlets. Creature gets +1/+0 for each equipment attached to it. So when we're throwing a bunch of like schlock, a bunch of like yard sale bulk crap on Yargle, these are gonna be going kind of nutty and making them huge. As if he needed to be any bigger, to be honest. And now I obviously want to give him as many keywords as possible as well. So Aphotic Wisps is a 1 mana instant that cantrips and gives him Fear, so he can't be blocked by anybody except for artifact creatures or other black creatures. Fear does much the same thing, except it's an aura. Very cool, Mark Poole original art. Sleeper's Guile, again, it's Fear, and it recurs itself. So it goes into the graveyard and then it pops back into your hand if anyone kills Yargle, for example. Untamed Hunger, 3 mana, enchanted creature gets +2/+1 and has Menace. Again, that teams up pretty well with Vorak Battlehorns. And then Shade's Form. This brings us to the protection element here. You're able to essentially give him Black Fire Breathing for 1 mana, but then it brings him back on the battlefield if he ever gets removed. Pretty nice. Skeletal Grimace lets you regenerate him for 1 black mana and also gives him +1/+1. Unholy Indenture is similar, where it brings him back to the battlefield after he dies, but he'll have a +1/+1 counter when that happens. Retro Vitality kind of bridges the gap here into our lifelink section because it gives Indestructible, but also gives lifelink as a little combat trick here as an instant. Lifelink is amazing on a 9/3.
as I've said before and will continue to say. Eternal Thirst gives lifelink and also buffs him continually as creatures die. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. A Blessings of Bells and Knock, Blessing of Bells and Lock, say that 5 times fast. Canonically, if you care about lore, like I do, that's the demon that essentially created Yargle. So target creature gets +2/+1 until end of turn. If it's legendary, it also gets lifelink until end of turn. Really good value for 1 mana, I feel. Aspect of Lamprey. Discard is actually really gross, specifically in PauperEDH, because there's very little in the way of draw unless you're playing blue. When Aspect of Lamprey enters the battlefield, target opponent discards 2 cards. That's potentially really gross, really unkind. Enchanted creature has lifelink, so pretty straight to the point there. And then Cruel Feeding, this just at instant speed gives a creature +1/+0 and lifelink. And Vampiric Link. Now this is in the pile with the other lifelink cards, but technically it's not lifelink. If you look at the wording, it says whenever enchanted creature deals damage, you gain that much life. That is a triggered ability. Lifelink happens instantaneously with damage before state-based actions are checked. Vampiric Link is a triggered ability, so it goes on the stack. What that means is you actually get double lifelink if you have some other lifelink enabler, Cruel Feeding, let's say, and Vampiric Link. You swing with Yargle, and he'll deal 10 damage because of Cruel Feeding's buff. Cruel Feeding will give you 10 life, and then Vampiric Link will give you 10 life. That's a big swing. That's a 30-point swing. And now removal is going to be really important. We don't want our opponents to have just as many blockers as they want. So we're going to get rid of a lot of them. Target creature gets -3/-3 till end of turn. It's pretty useful as for anything bigger than a 3/3, we have other options, but that will usually just be a 2-mana murder. Feed the Swarm is one of the rare mono black options for getting rid of enchantments. Destroy target creature enchantment and opponent controls, you lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. There's not a lot of artifact and enchantment removal in black, so we have to resort to things like Unstable Obelisk. You can pay 7 and tap it to sack it and destroy target permanent, and it's a rock if you want that. Again, that's expensive removal, but if something is absolutely blocking you out of the game, you're happy to have the option. You're glad to draw this. Dash Hopes is just hilarious. It's a 2 black mana counter target spell unless any player pays 5 life. More than anything, this is just really funny. We don't care about like the burn aspect of this. I just love having a mono black counter spell. We got Grim Bauble. When it enters, target creature and opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Then you can sack it to kind of dig through your library by surveilling 2, which costs 3 mana. Again, it's nice to have something to spend mana on if you get to a turn where your hand is completely empty, which we try to avoid in this deck, but it happens. Defile, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn for each swamp you control. Hey, look at that, I have 6 swamps. This is a 1 mana -6/-6. Murder. And then we got Pilfer. Sometimes the best removal is just taking it out of the opponent's hand before they can even play it. Target opponent reveals their hand, you may choose a non-land card from it, that player discards that card. If you play this turn 2, people will be sad. Not only do you get a ton of information, but you get to remove their best card from the game before they even cast it. Blood Curdle, it destroys a creature and then it gives a menace counter to Yargle. Liturgy of Blood, they just took Dark Ritual and Murder and stapled them together, so we like that. It is sorcery speed, but oh look, Dark Ritual. That brings us to our ramp package. Dark Ritual can be extremely explosive, helping us get Yargle out way before anyone wants him to be out, or recasting him before anyone wants us to recast him. Bubbling Muck is potentially even better, especially late game. Until end of turn, whenever a player taps a swamp for mana, it produces an additional black mana. Yeah, when you have like 7 swamps out, now you have 12 mana after spending 1 on this, everything else taps for 2. Network Terminal, it's a mana rock that lets you draw. I like to staple a lot of my draw effects to non-draw specific cards, just so you have the option wherever you look. Fountain of Vicar is a rock that can also become a blocker if you need it at instant speed. Pristine Talisman, I mean, it's okay. It taps for 1 mana and gains you a life. You could probably replace this with something better in this deck, but I don't mind having that extra life gain just as like a, just to delay like chip damage from opponents over time. Charcoal Diamond, we are trying to ramp pretty quickly into playing our guy, so a turn 2 rock is going to be actually exactly what we want. Infernal Idol, again, you can sack it to draw 2. And Bog Witch, it gives you a Dark Ritual for the cost of a card, which is nice, actually. when you care more about mana than cards. And it's also a body on the battlefield. Similar to Basil Thrall, these cards are great for hanging out and essentially threatening combat tricks. At any time, I can sack him to get 2 mana to play whatever. Something that gives him indestructible or something that removes a creature. Opponents can't really rest easy if you have mana like this. Plus, it's a body. Declare it as a blocker, tap it for mana, cast murder, whatever. And then we've got some straight up draw spells. Foreboding Fruit, target player draws 2 and loses 2. And then we're always going to be spending all black on this. We're in mono black. If at least 3 black mana was spent to cast this spell, create a food token. Cranial Plating cares about that, you know? And potentially we could gain life if we have nothing else to spend mana on. It's just a little extra value. Sign in Blood is not strictly better, but it's probably better in most situations here. Pay 2, draw 2, lose 2, and it is target player. So you can finish someone off if Yargo gets him down to 2 life or something and cast Sign in Blood in second main phase and end it all. Demon's Due, it does cost twice as much, which is a little rough, but it's an instant. Scry 2, draw 2, lose 2. Lets you dig a little bit more. Knight's Whisper, just another pay 2, draw 2, lose 2. Thorn of the Black Rose. So again, we've got another body here. We need blockers. It's a 1/3 with Death Touch for 4 mana. When it enters, you become the Monarch. Now, Monarchy is actually really funny in a Voltron deck because, yes, they can usually sneak creatures by and steal the Monarchy from you, which if you're not familiar, the Monarch gets to draw on their end step, and when you deal combat damage to the Monarch, you become the Monarch. Now, with a Voltron deck, you're essentially holding a gun and saying, yeah, you can become the Monarch. Totally. A lot of people will just go, you know what? It's not worth it. I don't want Yargle to come at me just to get Monarch. It's not worth 1 card. So you'll get to draw a little bit off this. Plus, good blocker. 1/3 Death Touch is nothing to blink at. Phyrexian Rager, when it enters the battlefield, draw a card and lose a life. I mean, any creature that cantrips is fun in my book. When Audacious Thief attacks, draw a card and lose a life. So you're getting that continual draw, hopefully. Sinister Starfish, I'm just going to be digging on the end step of the player to my right every turn. It can tap to Surveil 1. So most of the time, it's just a good blocker, and then once per round, you'll get to tap him and dig. Novice Occultist, when it dies, you draw a card and lose a life. A blocker that cantrips. Girder Goons is nasty. I was not super impressed with this until I looked at the Blitz cost down there. You can pay 3 and a black to have it come in with haste as a 4/4, and then when it dies, draw a card. And then this top ability triggers. When it dies, create a tapped 2/2 Black Rogue creature token. So you're just getting a ton of value for this. It's actually ridiculous. You're drawing a card, creating a token, it has haste. It's pretty gross. Basilicus Creature can also be a good continual source of value because it's a 2 mana 1/2 with flying and extort. So after he's out on the battlefield, any spell you cast, you can pay an additional black mana and ping everyone for 1 and gain that much. At a table of 4, you're pinging everyone for 1 and then gaining 3 life. And that brings us to our sweepers section. Drown in Sorrow just gives everything -2/-2 and lets you scry 1. Obviously, Yargle is a 9/3, so he lives. Can just get some blockers out of the way. Kind of nice. Dry Spell, similarly, 2 mana deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. Just get the Llanowar Elves out of my face. Get all the little weenies that are going to chump block out of my face. Get them gone. Pestilence, potentially similar. It's a 4 mana enchantment, and once it's on the battlefield, you can pay a black mana at any time to deal 1 damage to each creature and both players. I love having this out in the case of if Yargle gets removed. You just blast everyone on someone's end step, wipe the board, and then on your next turn, you're casting Yargle, and there's no blockers unless they can rebuild really fast. And that brings us to my favorite card in the deck, Crypt Rats. If you haven't ever used this before, it's a little bit deceptive. It's a 3 mana 1/1 with X. Crypt Rats deals X damage to each creature and each player, spending only black mana for X. And now here's the key part. Crypt Rats deals this damage. So what happens if we gave him lifelink? That means that if there's 10 creatures and 4 players, you ping everything for 1. You pay 1 for X, right? If he has lifelink, you're gaining 14. Well, you're netting 13 since you're damaging yourself for 1. So you're gaining 13 essentially. And then anything else you pump into X, that's just multiplying that 13. So 3 for X. 3 black mana is netting you 39 health. That's insane. I've also had Vampiric Link on this, so it's essentially double lifelink. So 3 mana would net you, God, what, 78? Is that math correct? I don't know. 78 health at that kind of table? I'm disgusted. Cool. Now finally, our lands. We've got a cycler and another cycler. It's just nice to have when you've got a bunch of mana and maybe you're you're hell-bent, you got nothing in your hand. It's nice to draw this and go, I'm gonna pitch this and potentially draw something I need more. And it doesn't screw you up too much to have a couple tap lands. Same with Desert of the Glorified, another cycler. Same with Desert of the Glorified, another cycler. Witch's Cottage, really good. If you've got this in your hand and you've got 3 swamps out, you can just let Yargle go to the graveyard and bring him back to your hand with this, not have to get that extra commander tax, because he starts getting more expensive as time goes on. Because he starts getting pretty pricey once he's died once or twice. Witch's Cottage says it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other swamps. When it enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Dross Pits, it's not exactly a cycler. It's technically worse, but you can use it for a while, and then in a pinch, you can pay to tap and sack it to go draw a card, which is a nice like store of value, kind of. That's for late game. I like this, playing it on turn 1 or something where you don't need to have an untapped land, and later on you can just benefit. And then finally, the last non-basic, Opal Palace. It essentially rewards you for losing Yargle a few times because he enters with a +1/+1 counter on it for each time that it's been cast from the command zone. So if it's the first time it enters with 1 and it's a 10-4, it gets significant once it's been removed a couple times and you're casting a 12-6. That's pretty good. And now swamps. I do have to just shout out Rob Alexander for this beautiful art on this Mercadian Masks swamp here. They're not all that pretty, but goodness gracious, I love this one. So thank you for watching. Build this deck. It's less than 20 bucks. You can make it out of crap you have laying around. If you like swamps like me, you'll like Yargle. It's a little bit more linear than many decks that I play. It's got a very focused game plan, but it feels like the first time you've ever held a gun. I don't know if you've had that feeling. I'm an American, so I've had that feeling. It just, you kind of feel the weight in your grip and you go, yeah, daddy's home. Like this is what it's all about. So I hope you try it. It's an absolute blast and it costs less than 20 bucks. Subscribe and watch this video. Bye.